Welcome everyone to another episode of Price Targets with your host Bitcoin Jack. Welcome back everyone. It's Wednesday. It's gonna be a pretty short stream, I think. We talked a lot about how to deal with this bull market in the previous video, which was quite a bit of a longer video. So you can go back and kind of watch a few things in that video. It's gonna be interesting, and we're going to be talking about that specific video in the next couple of videos as well, because market break up, and it's going to be very interesting what happens from here on out. But first, I want your attention for ECOS. They're a new regulatory compliant exchange. They have fiat on-ramps, off-ramps, spot, derivatives, everything you need. So please check them out. They're sponsoring this content. Thank you, ECOS, for doing that. And there's a link in the description below and in the watermark. So thank you and let me know what you think. Bitcoin, I've cleaned up the chart a little bit, just a few major levels as we started to move up, and we're going to be talking about the lower time frame moves and levels of concern if we don't manage to push further up. First of all, let's start with the daily volume. It's been increasing slightly from the February 13th volume, which was very low. I think that was the lowest volume in, well, maybe since sometime in December or something. Low volumes, it's not necessarily a bad thing in consolidation, but what we want to see is some kind of continuation of this recent days growth in volume to either consider any strength to this rally. If we we talked about this in the previous video too. If you look at this downtrend in volume, we really want to see an uptick, preferably past here. It would be nice if we can match this or that. And if it stays low, at some point there's probably going to be a big volume sell-off. Another thing that we looked at is, let's see if we can draw something like this. We go to back to the daily, we can see that the diagonal of the leading diagonal right here is matching with the high of early Jan. So that kind of makes me think it's kind of been front running the 50k level, and we kind of broke out of it right now, and it's a significant diagonal. I do really think diagonals are important, especially in parabolic price action. So I consider this to be a breakout, but what I do want to see is some kind of like stronger continuation in the days to come. Right now, if we look at, for example, the 4-hour, we have the 50.8 level that I outlined many weeks ago. We can drop lower, like literally the daily support is at 48,700-ish, 48,200-ish, but I don't think that it would kind of be as bullish if we come back down again. I really want to see continuation from here, preferably, on the retest of this high. And if that's the case, I think Bitcoin is going for its $1 trillion market cap, which is around 53,600, 700-ish, which might get a little bit of a reaction. Maybe we blast through it as news comes out. I'm not really sure, but the high time frame target for the breakout, if this doesn't become a deviation, so if a deviation happens, this is kind of our breakout level. If we come back down here, that's just something I wouldn't like to see, and I'll hedge my exposure significantly if that was to happen. But if we see that continuation I was talking about, we should be heading towards 60k over the next couple of weeks to start with, and past that, I think it's possible to reach to the high 60s, maybe mid 60s, and we'll have to reevaluate from there on. A couple of things to note is that funding is extremely high, so it wouldn't be surprising to see a sharp wicks on lower time frames to recover quite quickly, just to kind of flush out the high leverage traders as we move up. And it's quite possible that you just jump up 5 to 10% and just nuke it down 5 to 10% back, just to come back up 5 to 10%. The market is going to be erratic. Michael Saylor announced that he will be offering $900 million worth of T-notes, convertible notes, which he is going to use to buy Bitcoin. So if he manages to gather around 0.9 billion in loans, then I expect that not to be priced in yet, unless someone has the capital right now to front run him. But he will still use that to buy into the market, and that's probably enough for 3 to 4% growth in market cap. So pretty bullish, unless this becomes a deviation. Nothing else much to say. I guess like higher time frame, eventually there is a good chance that we retest 41 to 42k. If we break down from here kind of like this and we come to retest it, I'm not really sure if that is gonna hold, so I'm gonna be cautious and not take a crap load of exposure if we come down here, if that happens. But if we can move to like 58 to 60k and then have a retest of 42, I think it's 100% buy. So just keep that in mind. The 42 level is going to be important moving forward. I'm just riding this until I see invalidation, low leverage. So we'll see what happens. ETH is in quite a shitty spot. Like, I don't own any and I have no interest in any right now. This right here kind of feels like a deviation of these highs, so it's kind of a throwback, and that can be bullish, that can be bearish eventually. But it's stuck between this level here at 0.039 something and these three lines here. This is kind of a no trade zone. Maybe you can, like if you shorted this, that was a great entry as a hedge on ETH. Other than that, I'm not interested in trading this either until it starts to reclaim this, and then it's probably going to chop around for a little bit. So it's just going to consolidate. So I'm probably still not going to be interested. And then to the downside, there's, like if you ignore this price action, I don't know if I don't know where this can retrace to. If this is an impulse, this can retrace all the way back down to here. If Bitcoin is really like super, super, super bullish, I would not be surprised to see those levels. I'm not saying it's going there, but it's just the reason why I'm going to be cautious. Obviously, there's this zone right here that could see a reaction, maybe it's going to run the lows at 0.03. I don't know. ETH is really something that I want to see develop and reevaluate later on. This deviation is a bearish thing. And high time frame, this might still be really bullish, but it's back inside this range. So, you have this low here, this high here, these lows right there. And there is support here, but technically, this is possible. So I'm not going to touch it. I don't want to short it because it could bounce. I don't want to long it because I don't know where it's going to. I want to see how it develops. And especially if Bitcoin is just going to pump and pump and pump and pump, the ETH-BTC ratio is just very likely to be smashed. And maybe that's going to take a few weeks, a few days. I don't know. So I'm worried to trade this, and I want to see how it happens. There's a lot of money that might be flowing into Bitcoin now. Maybe it's just Bitcoin's turn. There's been a lot of alt craze. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, I wish I could tell you more, but I'm not interested in trading ETH right now. Maybe for a scalp or a low time frame trade, which generally is not my kind of style. We can look at Litecoin, which is, is one of those coins that I could see perform with Bitcoin performing well. So if we assume that Bitcoin right here is breaking out of a high time frame resistance at 50k, it's going to 60k, maybe pulls back to 50k, maybe goes to 70k, maybe pulls back to 40k, it's probably going to be very like a giant shit show for alts, especially on the Bitcoin ratio, which means that you would have been better off in Bitcoin. If the old BTC ratio goes down, you would have made more dollars or Bitcoin if you trade on leverage margin. You would have been better off in Bitcoin. So for now, I have to assume that Bitcoin broke out of a high time frame resistance that is going to 60k. If it goes to 60k, I'm very bearish on old BTC pairs unless they show otherwise. The only coin that kind of has not seen a rally and has been consolidating remains Litecoin. And what we can see here, let me turn on the magnet, is it swept the lows, like not as convincing as I would have, like it would have been nicer if it went a little bit lower, consolidated, then reclaimed it, and then just rallied. So that can still happen. So again, I'm cautious. I had a little trade into this box. If it can get above this box, above this line and this line, then I think it's off to the races. So the level at 0.005 something here, if we have a high time frame close, like a 3-day above it, and it pull back into 0.045, 0.048 is going to be interesting, which again is something that we'll have to reevaluate as price, is interacting with those levels. So it's a lot of guessing right now. And that means I can't be more specific, which I would love to be, but I can't. And if we look at, there's some concern about the dollar, which is moving. Let me redraw this a little bit. So we kind of have this wedgie structure here, fake out, then kind of like a throwback here of the inverse head and shoulders or whatever it is, and then a little pump now too. So this can be a lot of things still. I mean, it could be a bear flag and just be another fake out of the trend line, or it could really start rallying. I think there's a lot of people very concerned about what that's going to do to Bitcoin. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, maybe the correlation is just going to break. And then the S&P 500 is doing an interesting move today where it's down almost 1% and Bitcoin is up. So it kind of feels that the market is breaking some correlations that a lot of people adhere to. And then the other thing, like if we look at olds, for example, BNB, there might still be some juice left, but honestly, I think there could be sharp pullbacks down here. But one thing I remember from BNB back in 2017, 2018 is that once Bitcoin started rallying and all altcoins started to depreciate in BTC terms, BNB was actually the one coin rallying. So LTC and BNB are the ones to watch if everything else starts selling off. I don't know why, but we'll have just to look at it. I think that's it. Like, I'm cautious on olds. I think the Bitcoin dominance, and it's swept the low here into this block right here. So there's a, if this can confirm a range and then break out of it, it can rally significantly to, maybe back to 66 or 68. Just to retest, like this kind of looks like it could form a range somewhere here. We have the low here, we have the high here. We swept this low right here, and then this is kind of in the middle of that. So what I do think is that we have this tiny range. If this does break down here, then it's going to be an insane alt season. So just keep an eye on that. If it doesn't, we have kind of this range here. And if we manage to break into this range, it's probably going to touch this. So yeah, just careful. And I hope this made sense. Thanks again to Ecast for sponsoring, and we'll catch you on Sunday. Cheers.